Thank you very much. I am Markus Sabadello, founder of Danube Tech, a small startup in Vienna. XDI stands for Extensible Data Interchange. It's an attempt to build an architecture and a protocol for personal data, for modeling, storing, sharing, requesting, offering, linking, synchronizing personal data between many different places and different ways. I really like the logo of this conference, and I really like the animations that we saw yesterday in the opening, because those illustrate that personal data is everywhere, but in what form is it, and where does it come from, and where does it go to? And the answer is personal data comes in many different forms, and it comes from many different sources, and it goes to many different destinations. In the basement here, we have the ultra hack taking place with a group of very talented hackers who do amazing things, and in a way what they do may be more important than what we are doing here, just talking about things instead of getting things done. But what do? They deal with data from different places, from health, from finance, public services, and mobility, and all kinds of different types of data. And what do? They access APIs, and they probably use OAuth, and they probably use UMA and OpenID Connect, but still they have to kind of learn every API separately. If you want to consume data from a ministry, or data from a hospital, or data from somewhere else, you have to study the API, and you have to know what data can you get and how can you get it. And then if you want to put it into a Miko personal data store, you have to learn the Miko API, and if you want to put it in a cozy cloud, you have to figure out how they model data. So XDI is an attempt to come up with a universal way of making data interoperable and making data flow more seamlessly between different places. So it offers some of these concepts, semantics for understanding data and how it can be mapped. It offers standardized ways of expressing connections and what we call link contracts, agreements between individuals and organizations for data to move around. It has built-in portability, so if I have data somewhere in the cloud and then I want to move my data here on a Freedom Box, a personal server, then my connections and the data flows still continue to work. And so the idea is that if you have a personal cloud, you have a standard way of getting data and putting it and moving it around. Technically, XDI is based on mathematical concept of a graph. A graph is very useful for modeling data and identity. I think there will never be a digital technology that accurately models our analog identity, who we are and what we consist of and how we define ourselves. That is very complex and can probably never be expressed with any technology. But a graph offers some constructs that are more useful probably than key value pairs or a flat JSON file or something like that. In a graph, you can have concepts such as entities and attributes and literals and relationships and organizations and individuals, and somehow try to model the relationships that we have in real life. One of the innovations, I think, of XDI is that it also provides a way to connect data and express data that is not itself using XDI technology, and I will try to demo what that means later. But it tries to be a universal model even for parts of our identity that are in any kind of format and in any locations. We use these things that we call cloud names and cloud numbers, or also call them XDI names and XDI numbers. These are identifiers. The idea here is that basically for any kind of communication, you need some kind of identifiers, right? You need IP addresses, you need domain names, you need URIs for your website, you need Skype ID. Even in the real world, you need a physical address or a phone number whenever you want to reach someone. You need identifiers, and in XDI, The idea is that you have identifiers, not for a web page or not for an email address, but identifiers which are really for your identity, for your data. We can address any kind of data, no matter where my data is in this distributed graph. It always there's always a way to point to it and to create connections. The history is XDI is more than 10 years old, still being developed by the OASIS XDI Technical Committee. There was an open source implementation. From a business and political perspective, XDI has been a disaster, we could say, to be quite honest. It has, unlike the previous technologies that we heard about today, XDI has virtually no adoption. 2 years ago, we unsuccessfully tried to launch Respect Network, which was an attempt to deploy XDI-enabled personal clouds in a global network of many partners. It didn't work, but some of us still believe in the concepts and some of the ideas and the technologies that we have developed and explored. And there's a company now called Evonim, which was mentioned yesterday, working on distributed ledger blockchain technology for exchanging data, and they are exploring the use of XDI for data that is on a ledger, on a blockchain, but also in personal clouds, off-chain, in other places online. I will attempt a demonstration what we are trying to do with XDI, some of the ideas behind it. Here is a supermarket website. I'm a user. I want to shop here. I want to buy some things. It's not that I don't like the food here in Helsinki. I like it very much. But let's just say I want to order some things, piece of cheese, and then I check out. I have my shopping cart. I check out, and on the left, this is how we interact today. We already heard that in the previous presentations. We have a profile. We have an account on that website. We have to fill it out. We have username and password. And the alternative would be to allow that supermarket access to my data in a personal cloud. This is the classic vendor relationship management proposition that DocSearch has been evangelizing. So as a user, instead of filling this out, there's a button that says allow the supermarket access to my data, and I don't know if the connection is good enough. I will just, oh yeah, here. So in the XDI model, the idea is that the supermarket needs to know this identifier, right? Remember, we said we have these identifiers, these names for myself. So this is what I type, and then I get redirected to my personal cloud where my data is, and this flow is very similar to what you would do with OAuth and UMA. It's a classic redirect flow, and as a user, you get an authorization screen. You see that data will go from equals Markus to this supermarket, and you approve this, and then one of these link contracts, that's what we call it, a link contract, an agreement between me and the supermarket is established, and I'm back at the supermarket, and the supermarket can see my data, and this is an ongoing connection. This is not a one-time transaction, but it's an ongoing relationship. The next thing I will show you is it's a mobile app. So I have my phone here, and I'm projecting it on the screen, and I will load an application. demo application. It's pretty technical, but it allows me equals Markus to also to access my personal data in my personal cloud. So you can see it's the same data here on my app. Now I will show you another device, another mobile app, and trying to not to touch the cable. Which is not showing right now. Try that again. Yeah. So this is my second device. This is somebody else. This is another individual. This is not equals Markus. This is equals Bob. And let's see if I'm connected here. And just like there's a connection relationship between the supermarket and me, there's also a relationship between me, Markus, and Bob. So this is Bob now, but he is able to if the connection works. Does this one work? My data, open Wi-Fi. So Bob can also see Markus's data, and if Markus, I'm Markus again. Now if Markus changes his data, so let's say here I'm changing my data now. Let's say I want to move to Helsinki. And I save the data in my personal cloud. And then you can see, first of all, on Bob's device, Markus's information has been automatically updated. So Bob gets an immediate notification that the data has been updated because of this connection, because of this link contract. And the supermarket, if I reload this page and the supermarket tries to retrieve Markus's information again, And if the connection actually works, then the supermarket can also, yeah, now it's there. So then the supermarket can also retrieve the updated information without me having to go to that supermarket again. So there are these persistent data connections where data can move back and forth. Have 1 more minute, a little bit. Okay, so now just want to show you one more thing. As here on as equals Markus again on that side. Remember, I told you the idea is not only to access data that automatically already supports XDI and that has adopted this technology, but I can also access, let's say if I wanted to access my data in me code, and I can add in this application an address equals Markus hash me code. That's an XDI address for my data in the Miko personal data store. And if I try to load that, and if I have my Miko account, this is my Miko account, and I can access my Miko data also using the XDI protocol. So see some of my Miko tiles. Here's my information in Miko, and if I update it here, let's say I put in I have a middle name. I put in my middle name into my data using the XDI protocol, then it gets updated also here in Miko. It just all takes a just not very fast, but so that's the idea, to have this universal way of addressing data no matter where it is, and might have to load it again, no matter where it is and no matter what format it is in. And I can do the same thing with my Cozy Cloud, so I can also add my Cozy Cloud here to my list of XDI addresses. And here, if I have my Cozy Cloud, then I can, in the same way, read and write data from there using the same technology. And I don't want to wait for that now because it's just too slow, but you can imagine I can get my data out of Miko, put it into Cozy Cloud without them actually having to support it with a unified data model. Do I have a bit more time on?
Just wrap it up, yes.
Just wrap it up, okay. We're working on registering these XDI names and numbers equals Markus in using different blockchain technologies. If you want to try that yourself, you can go to xdi.space. It's a demo web page where these XDI names are registered in a blockchain. And I think this we will discuss maybe now relationship to other technologies. Don't want to spend time on that. Thank you.